So today's topic is how to experience Samadhi, or superconscious awareness, or the oneness state. And this is the goal of all yoga practice. It's to experience a state of being where you are whole, you are free spiritually, and you are at peace inside, no matter what's going on. So you experience that in meditation. That's what you're training yourself to do. But you don't want to stop in meditation. You also want to experience it while you're going about your daily living, and no matter what's happening, you're still there. Okay. So yoga practice, aside from asanas and the physical postures, there are techniques that are used which allow a person to transcend their thoughts, their emotions, and their states of consciousness which are conditioned. And we talked about keeping your attention up here in the spiritual eye when you're meditating. This is one of those practices. Yogis recommend it, to keep your attention up here. When your eyes are closed, you're gazing off into the distance as if there's infinite space. But when you're doing this, you're not only doing what the yogis say, which is being spiritually reborn, you're also developing the frontal lobes of your brain, which allows a person to concentrate, to focus, to be optimistic, and to be intentional. And that's what a yogi is. They're focused, they're optimistic, they're intentional. They're above mental and emotional conditions. They can still have thoughts, and they can still have emotions, but they know that's not who they are. Okay. Now, like I said, by bringing your attention up here, you want to allow this to be one of the focuses of your practice. So we're going to go over a mantra technique, and we're going to go over a breath awareness technique. But throughout that whole bit, you want to hold your attention up here. Okay. There's a technique in the Kriya Yoga tradition where you pull the current up the spine and you direct your attention out and you continuously chant Om. So the syllable Om. It's Om, Om. You're chanting Om and you're directing your attention out as though you're being pulled out of your head. That's the feeling you want to have, as though you're going out of your head. Okay. Now, this is important, and I discovered this a while back. My teacher, Roy Davis, who studied with Yogananda, he would always say, bring your attention up here and flow your attention out when you're meditating. That will help you merge in the infinite consciousness. And I listened and I thought, yeah, that's great, but I wasn't really paying attention. Okay. But then one day, it occurred to me, well, I'm a little sleepy, I'm a little tired, I'm a little not quite into this whole meditation practice, so I'm going to try that. So I brought my attention up here, I directed it out through the spiritual eye, and immediately I perked up. Immediately all the thoughts and the emotions fell away, and I was in that state of just simply being. Okay. So that simple technique of holding your attention up here is really all you need to do to rise above these conditioned states of consciousness. Now, this being the spiritual eye, the sixth chakra, we all have the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh chakras. Now, the lower chakras from fifth down are considered conditioned awareness. So when we're functioning within these lower chakras, we're experiencing normal human consciousness, basically. Okay. Once we get above the third, we're starting to experience compassion. We're starting to experience clearer, more loving states. But once we get up to the spiritual eye, we are above the conditioning which keeps us trapped in the wheel of birth and death. Okay. And then eventually we bring our attention up here to the seventh chakra. And this is another interesting technique to use. Roy has said that if you just simply keep your attention up here in the seventh chakra, which is the highest chakra, which is beyond even the sixth, by doing that, by simply sitting there with your awareness up here, you will experience Samadhi. You will experience transcendence. Only by doing that. Now, that's hard for a lot of people who are caught up in their mind and their emotions. They need a meditation technique such as a mantra or breath awareness to give them something to do while their consciousness is rising. Okay? So I want you to always remember that. The meditation techniques that you do, that's simply a distraction for your mind so that your consciousness can raise itself. Because sitting there and going over syllables, sitting there and focusing on your breath, that in and of itself is not really doing anything. It's just taking you from the mind so that your consciousness can raise naturally. Because the soul, the spirit, the innate essence of you wants to wake up, wants to experience that clear state of awareness. And as long as you can get the mind out of the way, the rest will just happen naturally. And that's what mantra means. It's taking yourself beyond the mind. It's saving yourself from the mind. Breath awareness, pranayama. The mind and the breathing are interrelated. So when you give your awareness to the breath calms down, but also the mind calms down. And once the mind calms down, then this inner impulse from the soul, this inner impulse from your deeper consciousness can naturally manifest. Okay? Okay? So all of these practices are simply clearing the way so that you can experience what you really are beyond all of this conditioning. You can't force yourself to be enlightened. You can't force yourself to wake up, because underneath of all the garbage, you already are. So essentially what you're doing is getting rid of the ignorance, getting rid of the garbage, getting rid of the distractions, which allow you to think otherwise. Okay? That said, we're going to... this is a quote from Vasista's Yoga. Now, remember, when you're listening to these words, simply listen with your whole being. Keep your attention up here, and don't think about what's coming out, because thinking is what's got you into this mess in the first place. Okay? Simply pay attention. That's all you need to do. All right. Craving is the root of all sorrow, and the only intelligent way to renounce all cravings completely is not to indulge in them. Even as a fire burns all the more fiercely when fed with fuel, thoughts multiply by thinking. Thoughts cease only by the extinction of thinking. The mind attains fulfillment only by utter dispassion, not by filling it with desires and hopes. The light of the full moon is not as bright, nor is the ocean as full, nor the face of the goddess of prosperity as radiant as the mind free of craving. When the mind is free from movements of thought, then it becomes no mind, and that is liberation. Hence, for restoring peace to the mind, remove the disturbing cause, which is hopes and cravings. Okay? Now, this is very important, because a lot of people come to spiritual practice and to meditation because they're hoping to find peace. They're hoping to find some kind of salvation. And that hope is exactly what gets in the way of experiencing it. Meditation is about sitting still, allowing the mind to disperse, allowing yourself to pull back and be free of the emotional conditioning so that you can simply be who you are. Now, in this world of form, there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be people getting on your nerves. There's always going to be people being nice to you. There's always going to be problems at jobs. There's always going to be good things going on at jobs. There's going to be ups and downs all the time. That is the nature of this life. Now, liberation of consciousness is knowing that, is playing the game, but remembering who you are, which is the stillness beyond hopes and cravings. So there's nowhere for you to go, and there's nowhere for you to be which will be any better than this place right now. Never. Okay? Because whether you leave here today and you're looking forward to something, once that thing occurs that you're looking forward to, it's going to be over, and you're going to look forward to the next thing, and then you're going to look forward to the next thing, and so on and so forth. And that's the trap. So it's thinking that there's always something better which causes the problem. And this is what meditation is teaching you, how to experience that samadhi state, because you're realizing that simply this is it. What I am right now is just fine. And when you can be at peace with what's right now, then it doesn't matter what happens. You can be alive, you can be dead, you can be in the worst situation, you can be in the best situation, but you still know who you are. And that is what samadhi is, really. There's the sense that it's a blissed out experience of utter devotion and over-emotionalism. And that is a state of it, and it's good to experience that peace. But even once you experience that peace, you need to go beyond that.